is Samantha Berg, and I'm the Vice President of the Hillel organization here at High Point University. Hillel is a student organization dedicated to providing opportunities to students to build Jewish life at High Point University. Students participate in social and religious activities with other Jewish students on campus and through the region. We celebrate Shabbat and major holidays, assist in regional Jewish services projects, and have the opportunity to participate in regional, national, and international Hillel events, including birthright trips to Israel. Hillel welcomes students from all movements of Judaism and people from other faiths who are interested in learning about Judaism. Today, we welcome all of you to our very special presentation tonight. This Sunday is International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and we are recognizing the horrific events of the Holocaust tonight and tomorrow here on campus. It is our responsibility to remember, and we are honored to have Hank Brodt here with us tonight. Hank Brodt is a Holocaust survivor who has been an unwelcome guest at 5 Nazi concentration camps, including Plashov, Matthausen, and Ebensee, from which he was liberated on May 6, 1945. Hank is 93 years old and an integrational part of the Jewish community and the tribe. He has a magnificent baritone voice and often sings at Temple Emmanuel in Greensboro at their Shabbat services. I want to share one story with you about Hank. Hank last saw his brother Simcha in 1940 to 1941. Hank was certain that Simcha was murdered along with the rest of his family during a horrible time. Just a few years ago, Hank learned through the Jewish Gen Finder that his brother did survive and only passed away in 1986. His brother's wife and 2 sons immigrated to Israel, where his nephews are raising their family. Hank has visited them in Israel numerous times and is incredibly grateful for his family he has recently discovered. I know you will all be moved by his story and experiences. We wish Hank many more years of health, happiness, and teaching people about the horrible consequences of biases, racism, and anti-Semitism. Tomorrow, at the philanthropy tables in Slane, we will be having additional stories of the Holocaust to share with you. We will be selling pins that say remember in Hebrew. Please stop by and talk to us, learn from us, and support us. We are grateful to have the opportunity to honor those who have been perished this week. We are honored to have Hank with us tonight. Hank Brodt is a gift of our community and all who have known him. On behalf of Hillel, the Jewish Life and History Department, ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to our special friend, Hank Brodt.
Thank you for the introduction.
So
you did a beautiful job.
We're so happy to have you.
Okay.
Really quickly.
Can I have a copy of it?
Yeah, that's all for you.
It's all right?
That's all for you.
Okay. Thank you for having me. It's not too long that I was here before. Looks familiar. But about a year and a half, I was in the same room speaking to not the same people, younger people. Nothing offense. And I'm glad I made a promise. Anybody call upon me, I will always be there to answer the questions. If I may begin, it was 1939, September the 1st, when the war broke out between Germany and Poland. Germany didn't have too much of a problem to enter the town, which took them not more than 10 days. Little did I know that Hitler and Stalin had an agreement. We will give you half of Poland, providing you won't interfere when we march in. Russian did whatever they give me, I take it. And they did. They marched in, and I needed a job. So I went to work and I found a job translating the Latin letters into the Russian letters. They're entirely different, but quick to learn, especially when I was still young. And starting then, I committed, when the Russian came in, according to their rules, I committed a crime. No, I didn't steal or nothing like this. Imagine, 14 years old, go stealing. I came 10 minutes late for work. I was punished 10% out of my salary for 2 months. Mother is a mother, she knows how to handle with 10% less. I went through with it, got to work, and I was translating the Latin letters into the Russian. It wasn't hard. Then the music started to blow early in the morning around 6 o'clock, all day long. They didn't care whether he's sleeping or not. The work had to be found, and I found a job doing this job. It didn't take too long when the Russian declared war between 1941, June the 22nd, between Germany and Russia. Well, the Germans were here in my place before, so they find pretty soon the same place come again. Everybody had to go to work, then the people, Germans, formed a ghetto. Ghetto, I'm sure you're familiar with the word ghetto. You had to go to a certain designating area to live there. From there you went to work, and before it got smaller and smaller, the army, German army left, and they made a camp called forced labor camp. Everyone there, the ghetto was liquidated little by little, and before you know, you were at their hand. People were going to camp. In the morning they went out. In the evening they came back. They still had opportunity to have a together, known with his wife or some family if somebody had. This was going on for quite a while. And my sister, I had a sister who lived on the Gentile side. Mother's intuition. She had a baby. She had a feeling that something that will happen. She took the baby, put it under an orphanage house, and a Polish lady claimed the baby to her. On April the 13th, I went to see, I had a pass to get directions for the German commanders to find out something and see whether I could get the name of the lady who has the baby. However, I didn't get there because we were surrounded by the German troops putting camps in that camp, and from there people marched early in the morning to work, and then at night they returned. Well, after the baby was born, she was alone. There was a town of Boryslaw. They organized a camp. The devil take everybody who is available to that camp and go to work. Didn't take too long, got bigger and bigger, and the camp was in mercy of the Germans. The Russians, we had Ukrainian guards guarding that camp. You just couldn't go out. You had to do what they let you do it. My sister took the baby, left it there, and somebody else claimed the baby. She was taken away, went to a field under the slaughterhouse with machine guns and shot the people who were standing there. Picture, from the distance, aim at the person to fall in a grave. You don't know how many fell in life and how many survived. God knows how many people were killed and buried alive. This passed, and he continued working, and we went to Plashov. Plashov became a concentration camp. The difference between a forced labor camp and concentration camp, forced labor camps you do on the outside. Concentration camp you do it in a camp. And now some people did some work, cooking dinner for them, so they had a little bit of better time than him, while the other people did the work. Didn't take too long. Finally we went, and I lost that time my sister. I tried to find out that woman who went to the Ukrainian police and told them there's a Jewish family hiding here, not far from the slaughterhouse. The Jewish family was my sister and her husband. They were taken away, marched under the slaughterhouse, and they were machine gunned to them. That's how it happened. In Plashov, I worked there. Then they needed some place to build not far from Plashov. There was another camp called Vilichka. Vilichka was a salt mine. And they were built airplanes and parts for the ammunition. My sister went, and she was killed in that grave. I tried to find out who took the baby. But as I said, the 13 I was taken away. I went to Plashov by train, stopping in Drohobych, which is approximately 11 kilometers from Boryslaw. And what can you do? We weren't camp. Somebody went to work every day. They came back, and every morning they went out. Then came the time in Plashov. Was a guy, he used to go on his balcony and shoot anybody whom he saw. I worked with a guy who had a beautiful talent playing the violin. As a matter of fact, he played the violin so nicely that a man in charge of that camp invited him, and every time they had a party, they invited him to play at that party. His favorite melody was My Yiddish Mama. I don't know what came up to play My Yiddish Mama, but that's what he did, and I worked with him. He came in, and we went to different works. Then we went to Vilichka, clean up the caves, put a partition, and we went in day after day. In that mine, there was a elevator, not dependent that somebody might fall or something less. You could walk in and find yourself on the bottom of the pit. They didn't care. You won't have to feed them. After this was done, we went to, as I said, to Vilichka. From Vilichka, we went to Matthausen. Matthausen was a headquarters, so to speak. And they took my name, and I said, my name is Henrik Brodt. I thought he would eat me alive. Henrik Brodt is not the name. It's going to be Herman. Even though to this day, I hate this name. It's going on for a while. Then we went to another camp. And we went to a camp called Matthausen. Matthausen was a big camp. As a matter of fact, I guess you see it as a general who liberated me. Wasn't too many people left. He could use his influence to try to get the people free. But he did all what he could, tried to rescue people to best of his ability. From Milk, he went to another camp. Called Ebensee. We marched to the Ebensee for about 2.5 days by the time we reached that destination. We were able to get a little rest. At night we slept in a field. The soup, the food that they were getting was just a little plain water. And the most sickness that we had in camp was diarrhea. It's an awful sickness. I know in Poland, they say if you had sickness like this, you took a piece of bread, if you had it, made toast out of it, scraped off the test, looked like coal, and the rumor was saying if you eat coal, this will help you with the diarrhea. Well, I ate coal, and the man in charge of that barrack was a prisoner like myself, but he was in charge of it. And the only thing when he came, I walked him and I called his name. He did not answer, and I don't know why. And the man took the bread and gave it to another fellow prisoner. That fellow prisoner knew that he's my friend. He called me here, and I saw him standing there. As I approached closer, I see he tried to commit suicide. I called to the other fellows who was sitting with a bag to him, give me a knife. So he gave me a knife. I cut the knife and put him on a bed. It was lucky enough that he survived. I saw him after the war. He survived, and his question, the man's question was, where did you get the knife? Which I doubted I did not answer. Then a doctor passed by, he examined him, he'd be all right, just let him rest. Just let him rest a bit. It was quite a while, the rest was left, but I did my best, tried to do the best to my ability. I gave him his bread. Excuse me. He took it. I took him, laid him on the bed, and we spoke about it, and he said, why did you do it? I want to finish it off. But I did it anyway. He survived. We met him later in Chicago. It was odd. He was a guy that tried to do best what he could do. There was another guy who tried to help out. He says, give me something, I will give it to him. So I gave him the bread, and I took the bread and gave it to him and helped him stay alive. I don't know for how long, but he finished. He rescued, gave him the war there. Like, this continued, we went on a march, and we went from Matthausen, we went to a different camp. From there, we took a train to work outside to the forest, try to clean up the forest, and build a factory that could manufacture plane parts. Didn't take too long. As the war was going on, the camp was getting closer to the front, and we were marched to another camp. Every morning he got up around 6 o'clock in the morning for the reveille. They took the count and reported everything is full. In Matthausen we worked. There were 142 steps from the bottom to the top. And when on the bottom, you took a boulder, you put it on the shoulder, and you dropped to the ferries. Once the boulder front to the west fell apart, and then he sold it. He was a judge. Then to the end, he was attacked by the Chief Justice of Germany. Well, he got his sentence. And he attacks me because I was a judge there. You, who was a judge, made $100 from quarries, and yet you tell us you didn't know anything about it? He didn't open his mouth, but he had his saying. After this, we walked, and we went to a camp, Ebensee. Ebensee was in Austria. And you walked on, when we were liberated, we took the liberty of walking out to the town, see how other people live. There were some people come over to, we got stripes, you know. What kind of army you are? Says, we're a concentration camp. You mean you live here, so every morning 2,000 people walking out, and you're going to tell me you haven't seen it? This was Sunday. I don't know, for some reason, they invited me and his friend for Sunday dinner. We were a little bit hesitant to take the chance or not, but hunger got better of us. We went over, and we got a meal, and they offered us a job to become a KP. I'm sure you know what's KP. Kitchen police. We cleaned the dishes, and everything had to be done. He went home, back to camp. He didn't want to stay, so he sent me another guy who was willing to stay. Another guy sent, and we spent, 9 months with that army. We traveled with him to Germany, to Ulm. And the life began a little bit to live. I didn't want to go back to Poland. The pain was too big, what the Polish people did to us. Now the nice, the same thing as the Ukrainian. They're the ones who came to town when the Germans walked in. Day after, he asked permission, we want to come to town. They came to town with scythes and sickle, and murdered close to 175 people on day. We had to ask permission to clean up the mess, if you call it a mess. But we did, nevertheless. They were our brothers. We were taken away on September the 3rd. I was taken away from the house, walking to the railroad station. My mother was bedridden. She couldn't walk around. She was put on a truck, and I don't believe that she ever made the railroad station. I never saw my mother again. Marching to the train station, my mother says to a guard who escorted us, he has to go to work. He told my mother, this is my work. I never seen my mother again. In camp, there were various jobs. If you were a little smart enough, you try to do what you can, maybe you will survive. A little bit every little bit will help. One time the copper walks in, and we had primitive electricity, and the electricity gave. It was dark. Everything stops. So the head copper comes in, and she says, the people didn't want to work, they all sit down. Each of us got 25 flashes on our back, and we had to count for it. Some of us couldn't take it. They died just from beating. But this was common. And we gave I'm just thinking, what was it? In Poland, they gave us a KL with a needle and some ink or whatever it was, in case somebody escapes, they could catch you. Well, I took it as soon as it gave me, I tried to suck it out. Didn't help enough, I didn't get to there. And of course, we were all no hair on a head. In the center of the town, they made a little road. So in case you escape, you'll be easy found and accounted for. This takes quite a long time. You didn't know whether you're coming or going. I didn't know whether any of my family is alive. What to do. And my determination was, I will not give in. I will live and suffer as long as I can, but not to give to Germany. He used to go in, picture this, on his balcony and shoot at will, whatever it was. Then we had to clean up the mess. Work was very hard. We got each one, as I told you, 25 lashes on our back. Was bloody. The first 5 you could count. The rest was just a mystery. How long will this last? How long we will be there? We had to build different factories where the thing was going, going on, and we would just try to listen and do the best we can. Finally came in, everybody was moved. We went to a different camp. There were about 8 blocks. Each barrack had a certain amount of room for the beds. We were already in a different camp, not far from Plashov. And the question was, what's next in our meal? But we stayed. The copper gave us each 17 lashes on our back. We had to count them. Then we went to the other camp, and we were making the same thing in the bunkers in the mountains. You went in the front, and by the time the planes or the parts were ready, you went to the top. Not an easy task. But you have to do it to survive. Bread was very hard, and whoever could get it, got it, by hook or by crook. We marched for 25 miles a day, and the only thing we got is a piece of cookie, which I don't think the dog would even eat it. This was our meal for the day. We slept in the field. The following day, we reached Ebensee. Ebensee was all the way the last camp built for hold 8,000 people. By the time they filled the camp, there were close to 20,000 people. When you walked at night to relieve yourself, you don't know whether you walk on the ground or you walked on the human beings. I know, it's not hard to read. You came home from work, you just got your soup, and this was your meal for the day. I remember day of a tournament, there was rabbi in our group. Remember back from home, when day of a tournament came in, you fast. I put the soup on the side, and I say, I will have it tonight. Okay, I put the soup on the side, trying it was cold, but I was hungry, I ate it anyway. Well, I got the diarrhea. They test you stool, they gave you some medicine, and you kept going. In camp, you didn't have much to do. To talk to somebody, who are you going to talk to? He's at the same place as you are. This drove you crazy. The worst position was when the execution took place in Boryslaw, and 100 people got executed and fell into grave. Lucky enough that my sister gave feelings, moral intuition, took the baby and gave it under the orphanage, and a lady claimed she survived. I talked to the mayor of Boryslaw. The only thing he said, send me some money. No answer once forever I gave. When she was born, when she lived, when it happened, nothing. He didn't know anything. There was something that even your own neighbor didn't help you a helping hand. I remember the gentleman who liberated me in 1946. He's right here present. Thank you, Lord. He gave us, the Red Cross came in and told us, don't do anything, we will bring you back to health. Don't go to town and eat bread and milk and butter because you will hurt yourself. I guess the Red Cross didn't know what they are doing. Never mind, put this on somebody else. You were like an animal. I guess the animal ate better than you. This was going for quite a while. Finally, I went out too, and I met the German couple which I mentioned before. And they did invite us for dinner, but I was afraid to eat. God knows what will happen. But we ate anyway. He went back to camp, he sent me another guy, and we traveled back to Ulm. In 1967, I'm subpoenaed to the German court, because the man of the camp was on trial. Picture the man was on trial. So he looks at me and he says, and supplied an interpreter. So I had my saying, and they had an interpreter too, a lawyer. And I said what I wanted to say, and her interpreting to the judge, that's not what I said. And their lawyer, he's right. That's not what he said. The judge gets up and says, here's a man who speaks fluent German, although I'm not from Germany, I'm from Poland, and yet he chose to speak English. Your Honor, with all due respect, freedom of speech. He was tried and he got life sentence. I felt good. I took away what they didn't give it to us. May the 6th, this will be never forgotten. I came to Greensboro. The rabbi called me to his office, and he asked, do you know what is March of the Living? I said, no, I chose not to talk about it, to tell the kids what has happened. Keep it as a secret. So he says, Hank, you're wrong. You gotta tell him. Tell him what has happened to you and other people. Otherwise, nobody will know about it. Then I opened up and I told the story. And I was going since then for 12 years on a trip on March of the Living. By me going to the room, my daughter wrote to every door that she could open, do you know anything about a man named so-and-so and survived Please let us know. I'm looking for my dad's brother. He wants to know whether somebody left the site. To no avail. Finally, I came to Greensboro. There was a newspaper, and the man who was sitting right away called me and wants an interview. I gave him the interview to the best of my ability, and we became friends. He was the one who liberated me on May the 6th. I haven't forgotten. To this day, be friends. My daughter wrote a book. The information was taken over the phone. Every word that I told her had to be translated into so she could write down the names. Took about maybe twice as long, but we did it. And the man was very glad that I told this story. She wrote a book, and she gave it to the boy. And I hope he likes it and read it. And the rest is history. Not long ago, Israel was celebrating the 70th anniversary of existence. That place was taken on April the 4th. And I went there, and the rabbi chose me, you're going to sing a song. With another guy, with a colonel from the Israeli Air Force, you're going to sing a duet with him. So, okay, since you know Yiddish, you will start in Yiddish, and then he will then give you the translation into English. If I may, I will sing the song. Tell me, where shall I go? There is no place I can see. Where to go, where to go? To the precious promised land. To the left, to the right, is the same in every land. There is nowhere to go, and it's me who should know. Won't you please understand? Now I know where to go, where my folks proudly stand. Where to go, where to go? To the precious promised land. No more left, no more right. Lift your hand and see the light. For at last I am free. No more wandering for me. Thank you. Now I'm open, if you want to know more about it, I'm open for questions and answers. And I will try to do myself. One thing that I will especially say, I had a saying, and I'm going down, who meet me, a boy asked me, would you ever forgive them? This was the question, legitimate. But never had I faced a question like this. So I thought for a moment, forgive them? I don't know. But I will never forget. I speak, the kids ask me when they have a bat mitzvah, I brought with me a song, Friday night song, in a temple, and I sang when I became bar mitzvah. And the kids like it, so everybody, when it comes to it, they ask me, can I sing for them? I said, well, you have to ask the rabbi whether he will allow me to. He does naturally. I'll be more than glad to sing them. And they enjoy it very much. Any other questions? Well, do you remember me? And you liberated me? I go one time, I used to get a pass. I went from, asked my officer, may I go to Munich? I had my girlfriend there that I used to date prior to going to the States. And of course, he gave me that permission. And I went there in a train. There was a little cabin, and there was sitting a man with two ladies, and they were having a conversation in German. And I had my book, and I read the book, listening to every word they're saying. It was rather very interesting. And about 3 weeks, I'm in the same place, whom I meet the same guy that was here, and he spoke fluent English. So we had the conversation in English and was very interested. He was getting in Augsburg, and then I said, I listened to your conversation, how are the ladies doing? He didn't know what to say. He said, that's all right. But he got up, and I said, anytime you need a hand, just as well. Anybody else?
Sir. Hello. On the day of liberation, what was it like? The day, the hour, what was it like?
Sunday, May the 6th, 1:30. As when the army walked in, we had the freedom to go in a reveille place. The people were going berserk, and we took their lives the same as they did ours. The army tried to interfere, and we had to say, where were they? Where was the law when they did the same thing to us? The army had to back away. They called all interpreters. And only the Frenchmen had enough guts. The camp commander called us sometimes. He says, we're going to take you into the forest, put in the bunkers to save you. And the Frenchman said, heck no. I'd rather die here by the bombs than being shot in a forest. And everybody stayed put, and nobody moved until the army walked in. Speaking to the kids, I always mention my name and where I'm from. And the people up there asked, how did you survive? So I told them. Came in and they said, a lot of guys, and then I started to speak. I was request to go to Fort Bragg and attack the Air Force. I went there was a colonel. He says, Hank, I got a favor for you to ask. I will introduce you to my mother. But to introduce, say what you want to. So I addressed her in Polish. He came in forward to her surprise. She was very surprised that I spoke fluent Polish. last time we were in Krakow, there was a group, and they said they would have dinner or lunch, or we talk, and all of a sudden they sang the melody of the prayer, what I used to sing when I was bar mitzvah. The rabbi took my hand and put it right in there, and I sang together with the choir. And then we went to another table, we did another song, and the people liked it very much.
Hey, Hank. Hey, you're great, you're amazing in so many ways. How has it helped you, or has it been cathartic to you to speak to people all the time? I know you get asked quite a bit. Has that helped you over the years to speak to people and tell them your story?
In a way, yes. This shows interest, the people are interested. A guy like me can tell the story, live to it. And that's I made a promise to myself, a motive. I will try to do it the best I can until health allows it.
Do you see a lot of parallels between what's going on in our country now and what happened in Poland before the war?
Hank, he asked, do you see a lot of parallels between what's happening in our country now and what happened during the war?
Unfortunately, don't go too far. Just remember what happened in Pittsburgh. People who went for prayer tell the story, and some idiots came in and shot them. Why? Because of their religion. And it's going to be to us to stop. Nobody for us will do it.
Hank, when you were in the camps, what prevented you from giving up?
I can hear you. Sorry, I can't hear you.
When you were in the camps, what prevented you from giving up?
Come closer, please.
When you were in the camps, what prevented you from giving up?
I still didn't get it.
When you were in the camps, what prevented you from giving up?
What?
What prevented you from giving up?
Well, there was no point. Liberty. That's the most important things you have. And when somebody takes it away, reach for the sky.
Hank, if you could change anything that you did, what would it be?
You're too far of a distance from me. Don't be afraid, I'm not contagious.
If you could change anything that you did, what would it be?
The only thing I could change by attracting the people, telling them what has happened. Don't take it for granted. You have to know it. It's not easy for me to go and speak to people who try to listen what they say. How much is the truth for it? Did the Germans really do it?
Hi, Hank. Okay, this is really quiet, sorry. Oh, okay, hello. Clearly you've been through a lot, and you're at a great stage right now, and I find you extremely admirable. And we focus on a lot of things that made you upset, but also made you who you are today. What is one thing today that you can do, no matter what, without fail, that will make you happy? What makes you happy these days?
Would you repeat this, please? I'm sorry.
What makes you happy these days?
Ben, these days?
Yes, what makes you happy these
What
days?
makes me happy? Being alive. Having a wonderful family. My 2 daughters, very great grandchildren, that I have to tell them something. But I have to keep silent what to tell them. Not too young to tell them what has happened. They shouldn't suffer.
Hank, will you tell us how you came to the United States?
Yes. We were in Ulm. And we were standing in a hotel there, and there was a kitchen there. And not far from here, there was a little drop, about 7 feet down. And the sergeant, and there were 2 rivers going. So the mess sergeant tried to tell us, Hank, you were swimming in the dirty water. But the 2 rivers, we were swimming in this. I said, it doesn't matter. They both rivers join. What happens? He stays there, and the boards give, and he falls down on the concrete and breaks his leg. He's been sent back to the States. My other friend walks down the stairs into it, falls, and breaks his leg. In the center of the dam, there was 2 by 2 water. I fell in the water, nothing happened to me. Yeah, when he left, before he left, he gave me your address. He says, write me when you settle down where you are, and I will sponsor you. I said, well, another big story. However, he did hold his word. He sent me the papers, and he sponsored me to the States. I came on a Thursday, and on Monday I went to work downtown, not knowing New York. But on the subway you get lost, somebody will help you. Colonel, you're awful quiet. I'm sure you remember something about us.
I don't think I need the mic. I was a Marine. Hank, how did you celebrate in the camps your faith and your religion? How was it done? Obviously privately, but how was it done?
Well, there was among us, there was a rabbi from Lublin in Poland. And he knew all the religion. So he told us the day of atonement is on this and this day. And people who had enough strength and were willing to give up the food that they got, that's how we served. But the following day, we all got diarrhea.
Hank, how did you regain your strength, and what skills would you use in the United States in schools? Did you go to school in the United States?
How did I came to the States?
Did you go to school in the
No,
United
I finished
States?
school. I finished the grammar school. I took in the Army, I took the course in motor pool. Since my MOS was 1014, right? 1014. So I fitted into the motor pool. I got the job as a supervisor. We have Polish and German civilian people working for us, and we were their supervisors. And it was a nice, good job being a supervisor rather than work. Not that I didn't, but it helped to give somebody the order rather than do it myself. Honest enough.
What jobs have you had in the United States, and what advice would you give to the young generation?
A job I had when I came in, I started to work, I was drafted and I came work as a auto mechanic. And then I went to job and it was nice. Then I went and I worked as a busboy in the Catskill Mountains. It was a nice job, food was free, and you get tips. But the government got a hold of it, they want half of it.
What was it like living in the camp?
What was it in the camp? How was it?
Yes.
Well, when we came in, the shift lasted from morning till about 6 o'clock in the morning, till about 4 o'clock by the time you got home. You had a little time for yourself, you shared the news. If you got something from civilians that you work for, the front is getting closer, and this is the reason we suffer. But we greatly suffer as long as they get the news that one of these days we'll be free.
How old were you when you started the camps, and how old were you liberated?
How old were you when you started in the camps, and how old were you when you were liberated?
19. There's another thing that I have to tell you. And this was something when I'm subpoena go to Germany and tell my story. It's not easy to tell the story, and the judge listened and scolds me because I chose English. However, when I gave him the answer, freedom of speech, he didn't say a second word, and I was happy about it.
Mr. Hank, what is your reason behind sharing your story with so many people?
What is your reason behind sharing your story with so many people?
If not too many of us left now, if they don't talk about it, it will be forgotten, and sooner or later, will go under the blanket, nobody knew anything about it. I came from work and I was approached by the German man, assessment, who was in charge of this barrack. And he asked me, "Who are you?" "I'm a Polish Jew." "So you mean, you're Polish?" I say, "No, I'm a Polish Jew." And this goes on for quite a while. And finally, I asked him, "May I ask you a question?" "How dare you ask a German officer a question?" But nevertheless, he grants me the request. I didn't kill anybody. I didn't steal. I went to work. Why am I here? I got a victory. He walked away. He could have taken out the gun and shot me on the spot.
Hello. Over here. Hank.
Yes.
What is the meaning of the state of Israel to you, and how do you feel about the increased hostility towards the Jewish state that's so prevalent in America today?
Would somebody repeat it, please? What
is the meaning of the state of Israel to you? I don't know the other part of the question.
What is your reaction to the hostility towards Israel in America today?
And what is your reaction to the hostility towards Israel in America today?
You want to know this truth? Stupidity.
Hank, what is your best advice that you can give to young people today?
Don't listen whoever spreads propaganda. We might get older, but we're still human beings. We did the same thing for the country. I was not a citizen when I was drafted. Although I could have gotten out because the doctor said, "You're too small, I can let you out." I said, "No, I want to go in." And I went in as an occupational force into Germany. I did something for the country, and I'm very proud of it. Yes.
How did you meet your wife?
I knew my wife before I went to the States. She came in from Czech Republic, and she lived in the same town as I did. We were approximately not the same age. I was a little bit older. We kept sort of friendship. And before I went drafted, I asked her to come with me. However, she still had the family who came from Czechoslovakia and stayed there. And we kept correspondence, and I persuaded her to come to the States, which she did, and then she was able to bring her parents too.
If you had the resources that we have today, back then, what resources would you have used, such as social media and other things?
To show that everybody is equal, regardless of their religion. If you're interested, I might pinpoint you the place that I was in. I've got this. This was the first concentration camp that I was in. This is the capital part of Poland, Lwów. I was not in, but this was our capital. I was in. From there, we went to a different camps, to Wieliczka, which is a salt mine. It doesn't show here. Then you see some of them. That Auschwitz, that I was not in. I was later in Auschwitz when I went on the March of the Living.
Hank, can you give us a little idea from your chair what the German people knew about the camps and how you feel about that? What did the German people, did they know about the camps and their reaction to that?
In a brief, the Germans saw 2,000 people walking out day in and day out when we went to work, and you can tell me they didn't know anything about it? Baloney.
Have you ever been back to the locations of the camps or to the memorials in Germany?
I went back to Germany as a soldier, and so happened I was the supervisor in charge of motor pool because I was 10-14. And I was very glad I didn't treat him the same way they treated us who was a prisoner.
Hi, going to the camps, did you expect them to be as bad as they were?
What was the question?
Did you expect the camps to be as bad as they were, or did you think it wouldn't be as deadly to people?
Well, and I spent a lot of times. I went to. I went on a trip, and there was a guide who took us to different places, and this was not far from Milk. Milk was a camp. So I asked him, can we go to the camp and visit that camp? There is no camp. So I got a little annoyed. I said, don't tell me there is no camp. I was there. He didn't want to ask, just made a promise. I promised next year I go there. And I put flowers at least. That's what they deserve. There was a man in charge of the records. He made the records whatever happened at that camp. And after the war, he took him out and had everything black and white.
Did you ever get to reconnect with your sister's daughter?
Did I what?
Did you ever get to reconnect with your sister's daughter?
No. Polish is a funny thing. They won't answer, even they know the answer. Even they know the answer to it, they won't give you an answer to it.
Hank, we thank you for being here. What was the process in the weeks and months after your liberation? And just sort of trying to figure out where to go from there.
Lonely. I didn't have anybody. I didn't know where anybody is alive. My daughter wrote to every available place. Did you ever hear something about this and this guy who lived in Boryslaw, where he got wounded in November of the war, and he was in the hospital, knowing all the 3 languages. He worked there and had to help out to sort the books what the Russian soldiers brought back from the war.
Hank?
Yes.
You have a very inspiring story. Thank you for being here. I was wondering, how many languages do you speak, and how did you learn them?
By listening to them. I speak Polish, of course. I speak Yiddish, English if you call. A little bit of Ukrainian. Don't tell me you're listening that I'm an accent. You guys, you're wrong. You're listening with one.
Hank, how long after being liberated did it take you to have what you would call a normal day?
I didn't hear that.
One
Sorry.
second. How long after being liberated did it take you to have what you would call a normal day?
Till I got married. Till I got married.
Till I got married.
It's very hard to live alone.
What was it like to finally get to meet your brother's family?
Happy. I found out what has happened. Had I known, and I was stationed not far in Germany, had I known, I would have asked if the Russian government would allow me to go there and visit him while I was still alive. Unfortunately, this thing never happened.
Hello. I'm a teacher, and I teach about the Holocaust, both English and history.
If you need a speaker, I go and speak to you without any charge.
I would love to have you to my school. I would love it. I just want to know, how can we as teachers teach kids not only the facts, but also to have empathy about stories like yours, and also to keep your legacy alive? It's really important because, like you said, there's not many more years until survivors won't be around anymore and they can't hear firsthand. So how can we keep your legacy alive in the future?
Let them read the books, have enough patience to explain to them. If you haven't got enough time or the knowledge now, you can always ask the very few of us survivors left, and I'm sure they'd be more than glad to come and help you out. If you call the Temple Emmanuel, they'd be more than glad to give you my telephone number. A Light and a Promise was written by my daughter over the phone. Candle and a Promise. Thank you for correcting. Well, you're taller than I, it's all right.
Do you have any pets?
Do I have any what?
Pets, animals.
Cats?
Pets.
Pets?
Dogs, cat.
Yeah, I have a pet. No, my daughter has two shelters. I'm sorry.
Hi, did your faith ever waver during your time at the camp? Did you ever lose faith in God or your religion because of what happened?
The lady asked something about religion. I never gave up my religion. Even on any condition, as you remember, and the guy asked me assessment, who are you? And I made sure that he knows I'm a Polish Jew. He tried to give away the Jew, just you Polish. Say, no, I'm a Polish Jew.
Did you keep in touch with anyone you were in the camps with?
There was only one guy, but we was liberated together. But we spoke in one of the church, if I'm not mistaken, together, the three of us.
Do you have a tattoo?
Come closer, please.
And what is your number?
I didn't have a tattoo. The only tattoo I got the scale, and the number you're talking about was given in Auschwitz.
Have you watched any World War II movies, and what are your thoughts on them?
I went over the weekend, I went to Washington, and I saw some of the movies on the bus. I have my opinion, but war is war, and I rather not speak about it because I didn't participate. I was just a prisoner, and it's not the same.
What do you think of the Holocaust Museum in Washington?
Do I what? Sorry.
What do you think of the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C.?
To me, it's history. Going over everything, seeing thousands and thousands of shoes, children's shoes that were never worn.
Do we have any more questions? Oh.
You asked him if his understanding of God changed during or after the Holocaust.
Did your understanding of God change during or after the Holocaust?
God?
God.
No, I always believe in God. And that's the question. So happened, the rabbi called me to the Torah, and I had to said a prayer. And then I asked the same question you asked me. He says, God didn't do it. People did it. But didn't have God the power to stop it? To this one, I'm seeking the answer.
Oh, yes.
Can you ask him what he thinks we should do to make sure nothing like that ever happens again?
What do you think we should do to prevent this from ever happening again?
For God's help, I hope I don't have to. When we were in Krakow, the city of Krakow gave us the concert hall. And I had not the privilege, he gave me the liberty to open a song. And I opened a song that when I sang when I was the age. And there were 4 people who sang. When they sang the melody that I sang when I was bar mitzvah, Rebbe was took me by my neck and threw me right in there, and we said choir. And it was a beautiful melody. I will try to let you understand. Birds, kochane mój birds, maleńka mieścina, gdzie moja rodzina, i dom mój był. Czy kiedyś byłeś birds? Mein steht alle birds, mein Heim alle wie ich hab meine Kinder jung verbracht. Jeden Schabes pflege ich laufen mit alle Kinder gleich. Kicken auf die grüne Felderloch, kicken auf den Wald. Birds, mein steht alle Birds, mein Heim alle, wie ich hab meine Kinder jung verbracht. Thank you. Nice to see you.